Great stuff in your MMQB on Jordan Love. I want to give you the floor. What'd you learn? What'd you learn about what he did to Dallas yesterday?
It was so cool. It was so cool because, I like Matt LaFleur called him. I don't think I can swear here, but an effing stud,
Right.
And it was sort of like, and I'm sure you've been in these situations where you're talking to somebody and you've been on the record the whole time, but then at the end they say something offhand. So I text Matt and I say, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay with me using that. He's like, don't mind at all.
Yeah, right. He doesn't mind at all. Because he is that. I mean, unreal. Unreal how he's looked.
So this is a good story. So so you remember the play to Dontavian Wicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the play to Dontavian Wicks where he makes that throw where he couldn't step into it and just throws it right down Main Street for the touchdown. Matt told me that Jordan, like he asked before, Jordan, give me a play. And that was the play that Jordan gave him. And they hadn't expected it, but Dan Quinn had a zero blitz called. And Jordan, in the moment, with with a play clock running down, identified the zero blitz, maxed up the protection. So kept like basically instructed a few extra people who don't know, instructed a few extra guys to stay in the block, stood in there, took the hit, and delivered the ball to Wicks, all in the span of 20 seconds. And then there was that touchdown pass to Luke Musgrave later in the game, right? Remember that one, Rich?
Sure, yeah.
Where he's wide open?
Yeah.
Did that look a lot like a play that they ran in week 1? Remember where Musgrave kind of tripped over himself and didn't quite make it into the end zone?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was totally wide open. They hadn't run that play since week 1. That was the last time. They had it called the play before, and Jordan didn't like the look. He checked out of it. And the result was a 27-yard run by Aaron Jones. Then LaFleur gives him a look. Jordan basically says to him, bring it again. And they bring it again, and it's wide open. So I tell these stories because it's just like an awesome feel for the game. For a kid who was seen as so raw coming out, and had such a long way to go, and he needs to sit. I just think those are stories that it's like, God, did they do right by him by bringing him along the way that they did? You know what I mean? And the best part is that everybody there loves him. They all another thing Matt said to me was he went back to his notes before the draft, and he's just like, one of the notes in there was like, this just seems like a really good dude. And I think that's reflected in the way that everyone in that building, and on top of that, Aaron Rodgers, are so actively rooting for the kid.
Mm. And then, we'll put that graphic up if my crew doesn't mind me just throwing it up there of Love and C.J. Stroud. Their numbers were identical, except for the fact that Stroud threw for 2 more passing yards than Love.
Insane.
It really is unbelievable.
The passer rating is the same. I didn't notice that. Wow.
Yeah. The completion percentage, touchdowns, interception, just Stroud got him by a couple yards. That's it. But he didn't need him. I mean, that thing was toast early second half because, listen, if the Texans get 2 pick sixes with the way that Stroud is playing. So the question I have for you is did you – I mean, look, I obviously watched him play against Michigan and then a couple times, but is he better? He's better now, right? I mean, obviously, I think you didn't see this coming, did you?
Well, you watched the Georgia game.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I can remember talking to scouts last – March and April, as you always do, and kind of asking around. And what I got almost uniformly was, God, if what we saw against Georgia was real. God, if that was the flips, if that was the switch flipping, you know? Uh-huh. And it was like, sometimes it's hard to tell, when there's a single game like that, and it's like, you just don't know if it is like a kid turning a corner a certain way. I haven't had the chat. I wish I'd asked CJ about that when I talked with him the other night. But, it does feel like that guy that you got on that night against Georgia, something changed. And this is who he is now. And I think it's a willingness to run, a willingness to stand in there and take a hit, the intensity and speed with which he plays. It's all there. And I honestly thought there's a play in that game where I was so wowed, and it was a nothing play, but it was Taki, the linebacker from the Browns. came free on a rush and was running right at CJ Stroud. And it's one of those hits that like a defensive player dreams about, right? Like it's just you're sizing him up and you've got a free shot at him. And like he was right in CJ's like line of vision. So I can't imagine CJ could have really seen his receiver. But he stands in there, his eyes don't drop, and he just kind of floats the ball out to the flat to Xavier Hutchinson, takes the hit, and it gets them into 3rd and 3. They don't wind up converting, but it was like for a kid to have that poise on that stage is really, really impressive. And, one thing he said over and over again that's sort of interesting is that, like, everybody knows his story with his dad and everything else. He says that, what he went through when he was younger really kind of prepared him for the big moments because he never sees anything as too big. And, God, that game against that game next week, if it turns out to be against the Ravens, like we all think it will, that does not feel like a layup for Baltimore anymore. And how about this too, Rich? Think about this. Like, are there 5 teams right now in the NFL where you would trade their outlook for the next 10 years, or you would trade the Texans' outlook for the next 10 years for theirs? Like, can you imagine saying that a year ago?
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.